Hello, people of the Webernet, web internet thing. Well, anyways, hi, I'm Alan, if you didn't know, and I'm currently writing a book, a novel of mine called Holy Fire Warrior. And the genres for this novel are high fantasy, magic, action, martial arts a little, and adventure. And I'm thinking maybe romance in some of the later books in the series. Before I tell you about the book, I'd like to read the prologue of the book so you can get an idea of what kind of reading it is. So, the prologue. Crash! Okay, that one almost caught me. I panted as I ran through the maze of rocky walls and boulders and caverns. I had to dodge another flurry of flames as I ran through the cave, tripping and stumbling as I attempted to bob and weave and evade the horde of demons chasing me. No time to attack. Just have to get out of here before the eclipse, I thought to myself as I rounded another corner. The floor was slick and difficult to run on due to the underground Triskelion River. As I hid behind a stalagmite to catch my breath, I took out the sack to make sure the contents were still there. Good, I thought to myself. Not even a scratch. I slung the bag over my shoulder and moved to look around the rock. Glancing around, all I could see was the dark caverns, and the only sound was the slow but rhythmic drip of water falling from the stalactites hanging from over my head, and my own ragged breathing echoing through the caverns. Then I saw them. Slowly they were creeping on the ceiling, slithering in and around the spires pointing directly at me. Have to get out of here before they find me, I thought as I searched for an exit. My eyes settled on the river, the third stream that led straight into the world, Alkalinga. Looking around again to see if the coast is clear, I slowly crept towards the banks of the river. When I was about halfway there, a piercing shriek sounded through the cave, quickly followed by hundreds of more cries of victory. Damn, they spotted me. I looked around, and saw directly above me was a worm. Not just a little slimy worm, a draconian with massive bat-like wings and serpentine body 3 times the size of a bus. As I looked at its face, its beady, scaling eyes were looking at me like a stake. Guess it's time to go, I thought, slowly bringing my hand up to knock an arrow. As soon as the worm saw my hand move, it screeched a cry that made my ears pop. Holding my head in pain, I was almost cleaved in two by the worm's dagger-like tail as I rolled out of the way. I looked up just in time to see the worm lunge at me from above. I quickly spat a ball at it, instantly igniting it into flames. I looked around for more of them, and there they were. The rest of the horde was close, and they were getting closer. Turning towards the river, I looked into the crystalline water, and for a second, stared into its beauty. Running like liquid silk, creamy surface, quietly and soothing. Just looking at it made me forget the situation I was in. That all changed when I felt a searing pain in my back. Ah! I yelled in both pain and surprise. I jerked my head around to see a monster, cute and furry as a little monkey, except for the 3-inch long incisors that were serrated claws that were digging through the sack and into my back. With a loud curse, I radiated a sphere of ash from my body at the furry thing, disintegrating it. I was getting shaky, and my legs were starting to wobble, and I slipped into the river. Then all went white. Well, guys, I guess I should explain how I got myself into this situation, I thought as I recapped the last 6 months of my life. Let me take you back to the day this all started. Well, obviously I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to tell you what happened, because you have to read it for yourself. So anyways, I'll tell you a bit about the background of this story. And basically, this story is about a California beach boy named Daniel Matthews, who is thrown into a world of magic and destiny when he is shipped off halfway across the country to live with his grandparents in small-town DeWitt, Michigan. He struggles with making friends in his new school and is haunted by the tragic past and the death of his best friend. When he is attacked by monsters in his school, he is taken away to a magical society of Fullmen, or Wielders, and he learns of his heritage, his potential, and can only hope that he didn't awaken a terrible evil when he moved into DeWitt. So basically, the main protagonist, if you didn't already catch on, is Daniel Matthews. He is 15 years old, and he was born and raised on the coasts of California. Throughout his childhood, he manifested an interest in martial arts, and through the support of his grandparents, they gave him books on various martial arts on many occasions. He is now adept in a dozen different disciplines, including karate, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, wrestling, taekwondo, tai chi, muay thai, and kung fu. He even combined these disciplines together and some of his own original moves to form his own style that he calls Dragon's Vengeance. He is still developing this martial arts style, but it becomes very powerful when he uses it in combination with his magical abilities. The main antagonist is an old man by the name of Edward Grandestine. In the beginning of the book, Edward is only a janitor at Daniel's high school. He has a white afro and thick white caterpillar eyebrows because they're really puffy and bushy. And it is discovered that he is not an actual janitor. He's an undercover, very, very bad dude. He attacks Daniel, and it is revealed later in the story that he's a rare type of Fullman, and he uses death magic, which is a combination hybrid of wind magic and nature magic. And due to his crimes against the Fullman Society, Edward has earned himself the grand title of the Bane of Fullman, because he is that bad of a dude. Think Voldemort, now make him shorter and more wrinkly, and white hair instead of bald, and big puffy, big puffy Cheeto white eyebrows. That's Edward Grandestine. Yeah. And as far as friends and comrades, Daniel in the beginning of the book does not have many friends at his new school. However, Haley Larkson, a girl his age, shows an interest in him and they share a class together, but they don't really connect that much. The only two people that Daniel really bonds with are Kyle Anders and Catherine Swathson, and they are two Fullman teenagers that train him when he is taken in by the Guild. The Guild is a magical society of Fullmen that takes in those that are struggling in the world, and they teach Fullmen how to use their powers, and how they can thrive in the world by using those powers, and also how to fight off monsters in the world. Also, the Guild is a magical police force that combats the forces of darkness, or the Decedent Fullmen, or the Fallen Wielders, like the Fullmen that have gone rogue, sort of, the bad guys. Anyways, back to Daniel's friends. First, we have Kyle Anders, who is an 18-year-old and a gifted fire wielder, and he trains Daniel in the art of fire magic, and also awakens his magic form. When he used this method of awakening, Kyle established a mental link between himself and Daniel. There are two ways to awaken someone with magic. One way, which is very dangerous and only has a 25% chance of survival, is to have two people with opposing magical properties, like fire magic and then water magic. You have these two people flood that person's system with their magic, and what it does is those two magics, since they're naturally opposing each other, they sort of go kaboom, and sort of, it's like a slap to the face to the person's magical system. It sort of kickstarts it and reboots it up so that it like awakens the magic. And if that conflicting magic is in them for too long, then they will die. So they have to have a third party, a third person that has magic that interacts with both of the magics. So say if you had a wind user, you would have them flush their magic into that person to sort of neutralize the the fire and water magic. And that's a very risky method. It involves a lot of timing and precision. So that's one way of awakening. The way that Kyle awakened Daniel is similar, but a lot safer. How it is done is the awakener, or in this case Kyle, he sucks out and absorbs all of the other person's magic, in this case Daniel. You can only do this when their magic involuntarily just wakes up for a short time. When people aren't awakened, their magic sort of uncontrollably comes out at random points in time. So you kind of have to catch it at when it's happening. So when Kyle and Daniel caught the magic when it was acting up, Kyle absorbed it all, and he was only able to do this because he and Daniel both share a common element, fire magic. Kyle uses fire magic, and Daniel is very, very in tune with fire magic. He's very compatible with it. So Kyle absorbs all of the magic and takes it into himself, leaving Daniel completely drained. Step 2 of this process, that's my brother mowing the lawn. It's really annoying. I wish he wouldn't mow in front of my window. Anyways, step 2 of this process is the person, in this case Kyle, takes the magic that he took from Daniel and flushes his system with it, so that now it's awakened magic that's going into his system. And he floods the person's body with all the magic at one time. This acts as a sort of kickstart for the person's magic system and gives them, like the other method, a reboot, a magical reboot. Except now, instead of having dormant magic running through them, they have awakened magic, which is much more potent and powerful, and that's running through their systems. After this process, the awakener and the awakenee both develop a mental link where they can communicate. It's kind of like telepathy, or I'm not sure if it's called telepathy, but they can talk to each other with their minds. So after this, they develop an almost brother-like bond and communicate with each other through their mental link. And Kyle teaches Daniel how to use his fire magic, and he gets quite good at it too. And Daniel's other friend, Catherine Swathson, is 16 years old and is an extremely gifted wind wielder. When she was young, she showed promise in wind magic, so her grandfather took her to a remote island and raised her there, teaching her how to use wind magic for everything. Like, everything. For the first 10 years of her life, Catherine utilized wind magic for everything she did. She didn't even learn how to walk. She didn't even learn how to walk until she had mastered how to fly using wind magic. And later in her childhood, she developed an affinity for water magic. And when you have wind magic and water magic, if you're really good at both of them, or you're just really in tune with both of them, both the natures, then you can do what she did. And what she did is she combined the two magics to form a new magic. And she uses ice magic. So wind plus water equals ice magic. Let's just pretend this is a snowflake. Yeah. So she's supposed to teach Daniel wind magic, and when Daniel tricks her into giving him a tour of the Basilica, the headquarters of the guild, she trains wind magic in the same strict teachings as her grandfather taught her. Due to her upbringing, she has attained the power and title of the strongest wind wielder, like in the realm of Earth, since she learned wind magic from such an early age and by her grandfather, who was formerly the best in the world. She is now the best. Like, she's strongest wind person ever. Yeah.